Hi, let's review for the Constitution quiz. Number 1, first of all, in this first part, we're matching the 7 principles of the Constitution with their definition. So we have here the definitions. We're trying to fill in what is the 7 principles. So number 1, a system of government where power is shared among the central or federal government and the states. This is a power called federalism. Number 2, the ability of each branch of government to exercise checks or controls over the other branches. This is checks and balances. Number 3, the division of basic government roles into branches. Those 3 branches make up separation of powers. Number 4, a government in which the people rule. This is the idea of popular sovereignty. The people have the power. Number 5, the belief that government should be based on the consent of the people and that people exercise their power by voting for political representatives. This is called republicanism. Number 6, a personal liberty and privilege guaranteed to the United States citizens by the Bill of Rights. These are called our individual rights. Number 7, the principle that requires all United States citizens, including government leaders, to obey the law. This is called limited government and is closely related to the idea of rule of law. For those, you need to make sure that you know those definitions. All right, here are some more vocabulary words that you need to know. First of all, Congress. Congress is what we call the legislative branch of the U.S. government. Okay, and Congress can be broken down into 2 parts. The first part is the House of Representatives. This is the lower house of Congress, in which representatives, in which the number of representatives is based on the population of each state. So different states might have different numbers of representatives. The Senate, on the other hand, is the other half of Congress. This is the upper house of Congress, in which the number of representatives is equal. Okay, it's the same. If you are in the Senate, every single state has 2 senators, whereas in the House of Representatives, certain states might have a lot more based on their population. This whole process of having a 2-house legislature is the idea of bicameral. Okay, having a 2-house legislature is what bicameral means. The preamble is the introduction to the whole Constitution. The opening paragraph, the preamble. And then impeachment. This is the official process of accusing a public official of wrongdoing. So if a president or if a Supreme Court justice commits a crime, they may officially be accused of that wrongdoing by going through the impeachment process. Okay, number 14, name and explain the 6 goals of the preamble. Our book does a really good job of going through this on page, I'm just going to put it right here, page 248. Okay, but I'll go through it quickly with you here. Whoops, it's trying to change that into number 15. That's not what we want. So the first goal of the preamble is to form a more perfect union. Remember that they had already had a union. It just wasn't a great one. They want to create a nation where states can work together, because that's not what was happening under the Articles of Confederation. So they're going to make the union more perfect. The second goal of the preamble is to establish justice. And what that means is that they want to make laws and set up fair courts. That it doesn't matter in our country who you are, you're going to be treated fairly under the law. That's the idea of justice. That they want to, and the third thing is they are going to ensure domestic tranquility. Domestic means inside the country. So this really means keep peace within the country. Remember, there had been some rebellion. Shays' Rebellion had happened. The Founding Fathers want to make sure that our country is being peaceful and provide for the common defense. We also knew that there were threats from outside of our country, and so provide for the common defense means safeguard the country against attack. We don't want any foreign countries to think that they can mess with us. So we're going to work together on that. The fifth goal of the preamble is to promote the general welfare. This is the idea that our government is going to contribute to the happiness and well-being of all people, that everybody has that right. And the very last goal is that we're going to secure the blessings of liberty, which means freedom, for ourselves and our posterity. Which basically means is we want to make sure that, like we are free, that future citizens are also free. Okay, those are the 6 goals of the preamble, the 6 things that our founding fathers thought that our Constitution should be able to do. Number 15, how is representation in the House of Representatives determined, and how many representatives serve in the House? Well, it is determined by population of the state, and there are 435 representatives total. Okay, same question, number 16, but now it's for the Senate. So how is representation determined in the Senate? It is determined by equality. There are 100 senators total, and that is 2 per state. So that is completely equal. All right, number 17 asks you to look at your book, page 252, to say what are the necessary steps for a bill to become a law. So first, it has to be introduced. Somebody has to write it. Then, let me see. I'm going to try to make a little arrow. How do I make an arrow? I don't know how to make an arrow. I guess maybe like this. Okay, so then it goes into a committee process. This is in both houses, where they see if they agree with the bill. Then it goes to something called floor action. This is again in both houses, where they are determining whether or not this is something that the overall Senate or House of Representatives agree with. Then it goes into the final approval stage, where the houses have to come up with a final bill that they both can agree on, where it's word for word the same, if they can do that. Then it goes to the president to sign or veto. If the president vetoes, it doesn't become a law. So question number 18 then, how does this process involve the principle of checks and balances? Well, if the president can veto, that's a check. So the president can check Congress by the veto if the president feels that they have overstepped their role. Right? This is a way of keeping Congress from taking on too much power. All right. Number 19 says, list the powers granted to Congress, but that would be a lot of things. So I'm going to tell you some of the most important ones. Congress has the power to collect taxes. Congress has the power to coin money. Congress has the power to regulate trade between the states and with other countries. Congress has the power to declare war. And Congress has the power to do anything else that is deemed necessary and proper, meaning if it relates to one of their other powers, Congress can take on new and additional powers. Number 20, how long is a president's term? A president's term is 4 years, and they can have 2 terms, so that could be for a maximum of 8 years, but they have to run for re-election in the middle. Number 21, what is the process for choosing a member of the Supreme Court? Well, if we want a new Supreme Court justice, first, the president appoints a person, and then the Senate has to confirm that appointment. So both the president and the Senate have to agree on the same person. Last question, number 22, what is judicial review? Well, judicial review is a Supreme Court power to declare a law as being constitutional, meaning it follows the Constitution, or not. So the judicial branch is able to go back and kind of evaluate a law after it's become a law based on whether that law follows the Constitution. All right, make sure that you're studying these right answers so that you can do a good job on your quiz.